Before we get into the story, leave a comment and let us know what city you're watching from. And don't forget to rate the story from 0 to 10 at the end. Enjoy the story. The scent of lavender and eucalyptus hung thick in the air as Emma Carter pushed through the frosted glass doors of Serenity Spa, her shoulders so tight they practically touched her ears. She was 30 minutes late for her appointment. Her phone had died somewhere between the office and the parking garage, and if she didn't get this tension out of her neck soon, she was fairly certain her head would just pop right off her body like a champagne cork. "I'm so sorry I'm late," she said breathlessly to the receptionist, a serene woman with a name tag that read, Crystal. "I had an appointment at 4:30, Emma Carter?" Crystal's fingers flew over her keyboard, her expression placid as a still pond. "Ah, yes, Miss Carter. We were about to call you. Your therapist is waiting in room 7, just down the hall to your left. You can change in the room. Robes are provided." Emma practically jogged down the hallway, her heels clicking against the bamboo flooring. She'd been working 16-hour days for the past 3 weeks, surviving on coffee and takeout, trying to close the Henderson account for her marketing firm. Her boss, Patricia, had made it very clear that this account could mean a promotion. No pressure, right? Just her entire career trajectory hanging in the balance room 7 was dimly lit, with those salt lamps glowing in the corners and some kind of pan flute music trickling from hidden speakers. A massage table sat in the center, draped in crisp white sheets. Emma grabbed the plush robe hanging on a hook and started peeling off her blazer, not even bothering to look around. She was wound so tight that she could barely think straight. She changed quickly, folding her clothes on the small bench, and climbed onto the table face down, fitting her face into that weird donut pillow thing. The cool sheets felt like heaven against her skin. She let out a long sigh, feeling her body start to relax for the first time in weeks. "Okay," she mumbled into the face cradle. "I'm ready. And please, don't hold back. My shoulders are basically concrete at this point." She heard the door open softly, then close. Footsteps approached, quiet on the carpeted floor. There was a pause, then a man's voice, deep and smooth with just a hint of amusement. "Rough week?" Emma's eyes flew open, though all she could see was the floor through the face cradle. A male therapist. She hadn't requested that, had she? Then again, she'd booked this appointment 3 weeks ago in a panic and couldn't remember the details. Whatever. She was too tired to care. Muscles were muscles, right? "Rough month," she corrected. "Rough year, if we're being honest. I work in marketing, and we're in the middle of this huge pitch, and my boss is breathing down my neck, and I haven't slept more than 5 hours a night in forever, and I'm pretty sure I'm surviving on caffeine and spite at this point." "Spite is underrated as a fuel source," the man said, and she could hear the smile in his voice. She felt him move around the table, heard the sound of oil being poured. Then his hands were on her shoulders, and Emma immediately knew 3 things. 1, this man had never given a professional massage in his life. 2, his hands were shaking slightly. And 3, he was pressing on her shoulders like he was trying to test if bread dough was ready. Emma said. "Are you new?" There was a pause. "Why do you ask?" "Because you're touching me like I'm made of glass and might shatter. I specifically said don't hold back. I need deep tissue, like really deep. My shoulders are where tension goes to die." His hands lifted off her completely. "Right. Deep tissue. Of course." Emma bit her lip, trying not to laugh. This poor guy was clearly having a rough day, too. Maybe it was his first day on the job. She decided to cut him some slack. "It's okay if you're nervous," she said. "Everyone has to start somewhere, right? Just, use your body weight. Lean into it. Think of it as kneading bread dough." Bread dough got it. His hands returned to her shoulders, and this time he did press harder. But his technique was all wrong. He was basically just pushing straight down instead of working the muscles. It wasn't painful exactly, but it definitely wasn't relaxing either. It felt more like someone was randomly prodding her to see if she was done cooking. "Have you been doing this long?" Emma asked, partly out of curiosity and partly because the silence was getting awkward. Another pause. "Not long, no. I'm actually, covering for someone today. Last-minute thing." That explained it. Emma felt a wave of sympathy. "Oh, so you're not even usually a massage therapist?" "Definitely not," he said, and there was something in his tone, a kind of dry humor, that made her smile despite herself. "What do you usually do?" His hands moved to her lower back, still awkward, but at least trying. "I work in business. Corporate stuff. Very boring. Lots of meetings and spreadsheets and people taking themselves way too seriously." "Sounds like my life," Emma said. "Except replace spreadsheets with ad campaigns, and you've basically got it. Although right now I'd kill for boring. We're pitching to this huge potential client, and if we don't land it, my boss might actually spontaneously combust." "High stakes," he said. His hands moved to her left shoulder blade, and he attempted some kind of circular motion that felt more like he was drawing spirals on her back. "The highest," Emma agreed. "The client is this tech mogul type, apparently very particular, very demanding. We've been preparing for weeks, and I'm honestly terrified we're going to screw it up. I've been having stress dreams, where I show up to the presentation and realize I'm not wearing pants." She heard him chuckle, a warm sound that seemed to fill the small room. "The no-pants dream. Classic anxiety manifestation. Right? My therapist says it's about feeling exposed and vulnerable in professional settings, which, accurate. This guy has the power to make or break our company. No pressure." His hand stilled on her back for a moment. "This tech mogul, he has a name?" "Henderson James Henderson. Apparently he's a big deal in Silicon Valley. Though I'll be honest, I'd never heard of him until this account came across our desk. But my boss treats him like he's the second coming, so." There was a weird quality to the silence that followed. Emma couldn't quite put her finger on it, but something had shifted in the room's atmosphere. "You've never heard of James Henderson?" he asked, his voice carefully neutral. "Nope. Should I have? Are you a tech person? Do you know him?" "I, know of him. Bit of a workaholic from what I hear. Probably doesn't get massages very often." Emma laughed. "Yeah, well, neither do I, apparently. No offense, but this is possibly the least relaxing massage I've ever had. You're basically just patting me like I'm a dog." "Ouch," he said, but he sounded amused rather than offended. "Tell me how you really feel." "I mean, I appreciate the effort," Emma said quickly. "It's just, maybe stick to the corporate job. The business world is probably missing you." "Probably," he agreed. His hands had stopped moving entirely now. "Can I ask you something?" "Sure." "This Henderson guy, what's your company planning to pitch him?" Emma shifted slightly, trying to get comfortable. "Why, are you secretly a corporate spy?" "Maybe I'm just curious. Humor me." Emma considered. What could it hurt? It wasn't like this guy was going anywhere near her industry. "We're pitching a complete rebrand for his new app launch. He's developed this platform that's supposed to revolutionize remote work, making it more human-centered or whatever. Our angle is to position it as the anti-corporate solution, even though, it's being created by a literal tech billionaire. The irony isn't lost on me." "Sounds complicated." "Everything about this account is complicated. Henderson apparently has very specific ideas about authenticity and human connection, which is hilarious coming from someone who's supposedly never home and works 18-hour days. But hey, that's marketing. We sell the dream, not the reality." She felt him move around to the other side of the table. His hands landed on her right shoulder, still tentative but slightly more confident than before. "What if the reality is more complicated than you think?" he asked quietly. "What do you mean?" "Just that people aren't usually one thing. Maybe this Henderson guy works long hours because he actually cares about what he's building. Maybe the human connection thing isn't just marketing speak." Emma snorted, spoken like someone who's never worked in advertising. "Trust me, it's all marketing speak. People like Henderson, they're not building things because they care about humanity. They're building empires. There's a difference." "Is there, though? Can't someone build an empire and care about people?" "In theory, maybe. In practice? Doubtful. In my experience, the people at the top got there by prioritizing profit over people every single time. It's just how the system works." His hands had stopped moving again. Emma was starting to notice a pattern. Every time she said something about Henderson, or business, or corporate culture, he got weird and stopped the already questionable massage. "You sound like you've been burned," he said. "Hasn't everyone in corporate America? I've watched good people get chewed up and spit out by companies that claim to value them. I've seen brilliant ideas get shelved because they weren't profitable enough. I've worked 80-hour weeks for bosses who couldn't remember my name." Emma surprised herself with the bitterness in her voice. "Sorry, I'm unloading on you. You're supposed to be relaxing me, not playing therapist." "I don't mind," he said, and something in his tone made her believe him. Sometimes people need to vent more than they need a massage, especially a bad massage given by someone who clearly has no idea what he's doing. Emma laughed, some of the tension actually leaving her shoulders. "Okay, points for self-awareness. But seriously, are you actually certified for this? Because I'm pretty sure what you're doing violates some kind of massage therapy code. You want the honest truth? Always. I'm not your massage therapist." Emma's head jerked up from the face cradle, and she tried to turn around, suddenly very aware that she was lying face down in nothing but a towel. "What? Then who are you? What are you doing in here?" "Wait, don't move. I can explain," he said quickly. "There was a mix-up. I was supposed to be in room 6 for a business meeting. Apparently my assistant booked it wrong, and I ended up here instead. And then you came in and started talking, and I, panicked." "You panicked? So you just decided to pretend to be my massage therapist?" Emma's voice had climbed to a pitch that probably disturbed the other spa guests. "That's insane. That's completely inappropriate." "I know. I absolutely know. In my defense, you immediately started unloading about your terrible boss and your stressful job, and you seemed like you really needed someone to talk to. And I thought, just for a minute, I could help you relax, and then it spiraled." Emma grabbed the towel tightly, her face burning. "I need you to leave right now, before I call security. Please, just let me explain properly." "Explain? You let me lie here half naked while you pretended to give me a massage. Do you understand how creepy that is?" "When you put it that way, yes, extremely creepy. But I swear, my intentions weren't— I wasn't trying to." He made a frustrated sound. "This is coming out all wrong." "You think?" Emma was furious now, her embarrassment transforming into anger. "Get out. Now." "Okay, I'm going. But before I do, I just want to say, for what it's worth, I think you're selling yourself short." "Excuse me?" "The presentation you mentioned, your pitch for Henderson. You clearly care about doing good work. That passion comes through even when you're complaining about your boss and the corporate machine. Don't let the cynicism kill that." Emma's anger stuttered, confused by the unexpected turn. "I don't need career advice from a creepy fake massage therapist." "Fair enough." She heard him move toward the door. "For what it's worth, I really am sorry. This wasn't how I intended my afternoon to go either." "Just go." The door opened and closed softly, and Emma was alone. She stayed face down on the table for a long moment, her heart pounding, her mind racing. What the hell had just happened? She'd just unloaded all her stress and anxiety and cynical views on corporate America, to a complete stranger who'd been pretending to give her a massage. A stranger who was supposed to be in a business meeting. In a spa. None of it made sense. Emma got up carefully, clutching the towel around herself, and got dressed as quickly as possible. Her hands were shaking. She needed to report this to the front desk. This was completely unacceptable. The spa had a fake therapist wandering around, or worse, just random businessmen walking into treatment rooms. But as she buttoned her blouse, she hesitated. Something about his voice had been familiar. Not familiar like she knew him, but familiar in a way she couldn't quite place. And the things he'd said, the questions he'd asked about Henderson, about corporate culture, about building empires, and caring about people. Oh no. Oh no, no, no. Emma's mind flashed to the folder Patricia had given her last week, the one she'd barely glanced at because she'd been so busy preparing the actual pitch, the folder with background information on James Henderson. She'd looked at his photo for maybe 30 seconds before diving into company metrics and market analysis. She grabbed her phone from her purse, her fingers fumbling as she pulled up Google. She typed in James Henderson and hit images. The screen filled with photos of a man in his mid-30s, handsome in that polished, expensive way that tech billionaires had. Dark hair, strong jaw, gray-blue eyes that seemed to look right through the camera. He was smiling in some photos, serious in others, always impeccably dressed. And he was absolutely, definitely, without a doubt, the man who had just been in this room with her. Emma made a sound somewhere between a laugh and a groan and sank down onto the bench. She'd just spent 20 minutes insulting James Henderson to his face. She'd told him she'd never heard of him. She'd called him a corporate sellout who prioritized profit over people. She'd said he was building an empire rather than caring about humanity, and he'd just stood there and taken it, while pretending to give her the world's worst massage. She was going to be sick. No, scratch that. She was going to get fired. Patricia was going to kill her. The pitch was next week, and she just completely torpedoed any chance they had of landing this account. Henderson would tell his people about the marketing executive who'd insulted him in a spa while he pretended to be her massage therapist, and they'd be laughed out of the building. Her career was over. Done. Finished. Emma pressed her hands to her face, trying to breathe through the rising panic. Maybe he wouldn't connect her to the pitch. She hadn't mentioned the name of her company, just that her boss was named Patricia, and they were pitching a rebrand for his app launch, which was probably enough information for him to figure it out in about 30 seconds. She was so screwed. Emma somehow made it to her car without throwing up, which felt like a minor miracle. She sat in the driver's seat, gripping the steering wheel, trying to decide if she should call Patricia right now and confess, or just wait for the inevitable disaster. Maybe Henderson would find it funny. Maybe he'd appreciate her honesty about corporate culture. Or maybe he'd destroy her career, because she'd essentially called him a soulless profit machine to his face. Her phone buzzed. A text from Patricia. Henderson's people just called. He wants to move the pitch up to tomorrow. 10 a.m., his office. Be ready. Emma stared at the message, her stomach dropping through the floor of her car. Tomorrow. He wanted to meet tomorrow. This wasn't coincidence. He'd figured out who she worked for and was going to embarrass her in front of her boss and the entire team. She typed back with shaking fingers. Got it. We'll be ready. Then she drove home in a daze, ran inside her apartment, and did what any rational person would do in this situation. She called her best friend. Emma, how was the spa? Did they work out those knots in your shoulders? Rachel answered on the second ring, cheerful as always. Rachel, I need you to listen to me very carefully. I think I just ended my career. What? What happened? Emma paced her living room, the words tumbling out. She told Rachel everything. The mix-up, the fake massage, her rant about corporate culture, and James Henderson specifically. Rachel listened without interrupting, which was how Emma knew it was bad. Rachel always interrupted. When Emma finally finished, there was a long silence on the other end of the line. "Rachel, are you still there?" "I'm here. I'm just trying to process the fact that you insulted a billionaire while he gave you a massage, Emma. This is like something from a romantic comedy, except, potentially career-ending. This is not funny. It's a little funny." "Okay, it's not funny at all. What are you going to do?" "I don't know. Patricia wants us there tomorrow morning." Henderson moved up the pitch. "He's definitely going to say something. He's going to tell everyone what happened, and I'm going to be humiliated, and then I'm going to be unemployed." "Maybe he won't say anything," Rachel suggested, though she didn't sound convinced. Maybe he thought it was funny. Rich people have weird senses of humor. He didn't seem amused, Rachel. He seemed, thoughtful. He asked all these questions about the pitch and about my views on business, and I just kept digging myself deeper. Emma collapsed onto her couch. Why didn't I look at his photo more carefully? Why didn't I recognize him? To be fair, you were face down in a massage table the entire time. It's not like you got a good look at him. I heard his voice. I should have recognized his voice. Have you ever heard him speak before? Emma paused. No, actually. I've never seen an interview or anything. I just read the briefing documents. Then how were you supposed to recognize him? Emma, this is not your fault. This is a crazy coincidence. A coincidence that's going to get me fired. Not necessarily. Look, here's what you're going to do. You're going to go into that meeting tomorrow with your head held high. You're going to give the best presentation of your life. And if Henderson says something about the spa, you're going to own it. Apologize sincerely. Explain it was a misunderstanding, and move on. Own it, right? Own the fact that I called him a corporate sellout. You didn't call him that exactly. I might as well have. I said people like him prioritize profit over people. That's basically calling him a sellout. Rachel sighed. Okay, yes, that's not great. But Emma, you know what? Maybe it needed to be said. These billionaire tech bros, they need to hear that their actions have consequences, that people see through the philanthropic PR nonsense. This is not helping, Rachel. Sorry. Look, just get some sleep. Practice your presentation. Be professional tomorrow. Whatever happens, happens. You can't change it now. Emma knew Rachel was right, but that didn't stop her from lying awake most of the night, mentally rehearsing apologies and explanations. By the time her alarm went off at 6, she'd gotten maybe 3 hours of actual sleep, and she looked at dark circles under her eyes, skin pale, hair doing weird things despite her best efforts. She dressed in her most professional suit, a charcoal gray number that made her look competent and put together even if she felt like a disaster internally. She did her makeup carefully, trying to conceal the evidence of her sleepless night. She rehearsed her opening lines in the mirror. Mr. Henderson, before we begin, I need to apologize for yesterday's misunderstanding. No, too formal. James, about yesterday at the spa. Definitely not. Way too casual. I think we need to address the elephant in the room. What was she, hosting a corporate retreat? Emma gave up on scripting the apology and decided she'd just have to wing it. She grabbed her presentation materials, her laptop, and the carefully prepared pitch deck they'd been working on for weeks. Patricia had sent 12 texts since 6 a.m. with last-minute changes and reminders. Emma's phone was basically vibrating continuously. The drive to Henderson's office took 40 minutes in traffic, which gave her plenty of time to spiral into anxiety. His company, Henderson Tech, was housed in one of those sleek glass towers that dominated the skyline. Everything about it screamed money and power, and the exact kind of corporate culture she'd criticized yesterday. Patricia was already in the lobby when Emma arrived, along with Marcus and Diane from the creative team. Patricia looked immaculate as always, her blonde hair in a perfect chignon, her cream-colored suit unwrinkled despite the early hour. "Emma, there you are. Do you have the updated deck?" "Yes, everything's ready." "Good. Henderson's assistant will be down to collect us in 5 minutes. Remember, he's particular about authenticity. He wants to see that we understand his vision for human-centered technology. No corporate jargon, no empty buzzwords. We need to connect with his mission." Emma barely suppressed a hysterical laugh. Connect with his mission. Right. After she'd basically told him his mission was fake yesterday. The elevator arrived, and a young woman in professional attire stepped out. "Patricia Reeves, Mr. Henderson is ready for you, if you'll follow me." They rode the elevator in silence, Patricia making minute adjustments to her outfit, Marcus reviewing his notes on his tablet, Diane quietly chewing gum. Emma just tried to breathe normally and not pass out. The elevator opened onto the 23rd floor, revealing an open concept office space that somehow managed to look both cutting-edge and welcoming. Exposed brick walls, comfortable seating areas, plants everywhere. Employees worked at standing desks, collaborated in glass-walled conference rooms, moved through the space with an energy that seemed genuine rather than forced. Emma hated that it actually looked like a nice place to work. Henderson's assistant led them through the space to a large conference room in the corner. Floor-to-ceiling windows offered a panoramic view of the city. A long table dominated the center, already set up with water glasses, notepads, and a presentation screen. "Mr. Henderson will be with you momentarily," the assistant said, then left them alone. Patricia immediately started arranging materials, directing Marcus and Diane to specific positions. "Emma, you'll lead with the market analysis. Then I'll transition into the creative vision. Marcus, be ready with the campaign mock-ups. Diane, you're on social media strategy. We need to be tight, people. This is our shot." The door opened. James Henderson walked in, and Emma's breath caught despite herself. He looked different in a business setting, more polished, more intimidating. He wore a navy suit that probably cost more than her monthly rent, his dark hair perfectly styled. But his eyes, those gray-blue eyes that had watched her rant about corporate culture yesterday, held the same quiet intelligence she remembered. His gaze swept the room, landing on each of them in turn. When he reached Emma, his expression didn't change, but something flickered in his eyes. Recognition. Amusement. Something else she couldn't quite identify. "Thank you all for coming," he said, his voice that same deep, smooth tone from yesterday. "And for accommodating the schedule change. Please have a seat." They settled around the conference table, Emma's hands shaking slightly as she organized her notes. Henderson sat at the head of the table, projecting an air of casual confidence that somehow made the entire room feel smaller. Patricia launched into her opening remarks, her voice steady and professional, touching on their company's history and their understanding of Henderson Tech's mission. Emma barely heard any of it. She was too focused on Henderson, trying to gauge his intentions. Was he going to call her out immediately? Wait until the end? Humiliate her in front of everyone? But he simply listened, nodding occasionally, his attention seemingly focused on Patricia's presentation. When Patricia gestured to Emma to begin her section, Henderson's eyes shifted to her, and she felt her mouth go dry. "Mr. Henderson," she began, and her voice came out stronger than she expected. "Our market analysis indicates that your target demographic is increasingly skeptical of traditional corporate messaging. They've been sold authenticity so many times that the word itself has become meaningless. They're looking for something real, something that acknowledges the complexity of modern work culture rather than pretending it doesn't exist." She pulled up her first slide, showing demographic data and consumer sentiment analysis. Henderson leaned forward slightly, his attention sharpening. The challenge, Emma continued, warming to her topic despite her nerves, is that you're trying to sell a human-centered approach to work in an industry that has consistently dehumanized workers. People are cynical. They've heard promises before. They've been told that companies care about work-life balance while being expected to answer emails at midnight. They've been told they're valued while watching their colleagues get laid off to boost quarterly earnings. Patricia shot her a warning look, but Emma pushed forward. If she was going down, she might as well go down honest. So our approach is radical honesty. Don't pretend the tech industry is perfect. Don't claim your platform will solve all problems. Instead, acknowledge the dysfunction and position your product as one tool among many for making work slightly more bearable. Meet people where they are, in their skepticism and their exhaustion, and offer them something that might actually help. The room was silent. Marcus and Diane looked uncertain. Patricia looked like she might have a heart attack. And Henderson? Henderson was watching Emma with an expression she couldn't read. Radical honesty, he repeated slowly. Interesting approach. It's authentic, Emma said, meeting his eyes. And I think, based on everything I've learned about Henderson Tech, authenticity is what you actually care about. Not the performative kind that makes for good press releases. The uncomfortable kind that admits when things are hard and doesn't promise easy solutions. Henderson's lips twitched, almost a smile. You've clearly done your research, Miss Carter. The use of her name, the confirmation that he knew exactly who she was, sent a jolt through Emma. Patricia looked confused, glancing between them. You two know each other? Patricia asked. We met yesterday, Henderson said casually. Briefly. Ms. Carter made quite an impression. Emma felt her face burning. This was it. He was going to tell everyone. She braced herself. She has very strong opinions about corporate culture, Henderson continued, which, as it turns out, align remarkably well with the campaign you're proposing. Please, continue with the presentation. Emma blinked, momentarily thrown. He wasn't going to expose her. He was just going to let her keep going. Patricia recovered quickly, nodding to Marcus to present the creative mock-ups. Emma sat back down, her heart pounding. What game was Henderson playing? Marcus walked through the campaign concepts, showcasing ads that featured real workers talking about the actual challenges of remote work. No stock photos of impossibly happy people on pristine white couches with perfect lighting. Instead, screenshots of video calls with kids screaming in the background, glimpses of people working from kitchen tables, honest moments of frustration and exhaustion alongside the occasional victory. The tagline, Marcus explained, is, "Work is messy, we get it." Simple, direct, acknowledging reality rather than selling a fantasy. Diane followed with the social media strategy, proposing a campaign that encouraged users to share their most chaotic work from home moments, with the hashtag #WorkIsMessy. We turn the dysfunction into community, she said. People bond over shared struggle. We make your platform the place where that honesty is celebrated rather than hidden. Throughout the presentations, Henderson asked questions. Thoughtful questions that showed he was actually engaging with the material rather than just going through the motions. He challenged some of their assumptions, agreed with others, suggested refinements that actually improved the concepts. He was, Emma realized with some surprise, genuinely interested in getting this right. The human connection stuff wasn't just marketing speak for him. He actually seemed to care. When they finished, Henderson leaned back in his chair, tenting his fingers. Silent for a long moment, Patricia's professional mask was slipping, betraying her anxiety. Marcus fidgeted with his tablet. Diane had stopped chewing her gum. This is good work, Henderson said finally. Really good. You've identified the central challenge and proposed a solution that doesn't insult the intelligence of our potential users. I appreciate that. Patricia's face lit up. So you'd like to move forward with... Henderson held up a hand. I need to discuss something with Ms. Carter first, privately. The rest of you, please wait outside. Patricia's smile froze. Marcus and Diane looked confused. Emma felt like she might throw up. Mr. Henderson, if there's an issue with the campaign, Patricia began. There's no issue with the campaign. Henderson interrupted smoothly. This is a separate matter. 5 minutes. Please. Patricia clearly wanted to argue, but you didn't get to her position by arguing with billionaire clients. She gathered her things with stiff movements, shooting Emma a look that promised a thorough interrogation later. Marcus and Diane followed, throwing curious glances back at Emma as they filed out. The door closed behind them, and Emma was alone with James Henderson for the second time in 24 hours. Before you say anything, Emma started, standing up, words tumbling out in a rush. I need to apologize. What happened yesterday was completely inappropriate, and I said things that were out of line, and I didn't realize who you were, which isn't an excuse. But I would never have been so unprofessional if I'd known, and I understand if you want to fire our company. But please don't blame Patricia or the team, because they had nothing to do with... Emma. Henderson's voice cut through her rambling. Breathe. She stopped, breathing hard, hands clenched at her sides. He stood up, walking around the table until he was standing a few feet away from her. Up close, she could see the faint lines around his eyes, the slight imperfection in his otherwise perfect appearance that somehow made him more real. I'm not going to fire your company, he said. The campaign is exactly what I've been looking for. You clearly understand what we're trying to accomplish, probably better than I've articulated it myself. Emma's shoulders dropped slightly with relief. So then, why did you ask to speak with me alone? Because I want to know if you meant what you said yesterday, about people at the top prioritizing profit over people, about empire building versus genuine care. Do you actually believe that? Or were you just venting? Emma hesitated. This felt like a test, but she was too tired and too stressed to figure out the right answer. So she went with honesty. I believe it in general, yes. I've seen too many examples of companies that claim to care about their employees while treating them as disposable. But, she took a breath, I think I might have been unfair to you specifically. The questions you asked, the way you engaged with our presentation today, it suggests you're actually trying to do something different, which doesn't fit neatly into my cynical worldview. Henderson smiled, a real smile that transformed his entire face. Your cynical worldview is exactly why I want to hire you. I'm sorry, what? The campaign you presented is good. Your perspective, your willingness to call out the dysfunction in corporate culture, that's what makes it great. Most marketing firms would have pitched me some sanitized version of authenticity. You're offering actual honesty. It's refreshing. Emma stared at him, trying to process what he was saying. So, you're not angry about yesterday? About the things I said? Angry? No. Though I'll admit, it's been a long time since someone was that brutally honest with me. Most people in my position are surrounded by yes men. Having someone tell me I'm potentially a soulless corporate sellout while I'm attempting to give them a massage was oddly liberating. Despite everything, Emma felt a laugh bubble up. That was possibly the worst massage in human history. I warned you I wasn't a massage therapist. You did. Eventually. Emma felt herself relaxing slightly, the terror of the past 18 hours starting to ease. Can I ask you something? Why did you go along with it? When I thought you were the massage therapist, why didn't you just correct me immediately? Henderson leaned against the conference table, crossing his arms. Honestly, I was supposed to be in a meeting. Like I said, my assistant had booked a conference room at that spa, because it's neutral territory for sensitive negotiations. But she booked the wrong room number, and I walked into your massage room instead. When you started talking without looking up, I realized the mistake, but you seemed so stressed, so desperate to just vent, and I thought if I told you who I was, you'd shut down. So I made a split-second decision to just listen. That's actually kind of nice. Weird, but nice. The massage attempt was poorly thought out, he admitted. I panicked when you asked me to actually touch you. Figured I'd just do something vaguely massage-like until I could figure out how to extricate myself from the situation. Hence the bread dough technique. Hence the bread dough technique. He smiled again, and Emma felt something flutter in her chest that had nothing to do with anxiety. For what it's worth, I learned more about how people perceive my company in those 20 minutes than I have in months of market research. You gave me unfiltered feedback because you thought I was nobody. That's valuable. So valuable that you're hiring us? I'm hiring you. Specifically, I want you as the lead on this campaign. Emma's eyes widened. That's not how it works. Patricia is the senior account manager. I'm sure Patricia is excellent at what she does, but you're the one who understands the message. You're the one who can sell radical honesty because you actually believe in it. I want you heading this project. If Patricia has a problem with that, she can take it up with me. Mr. Henderson, James, he corrected. Given that you've already insulted me while I attempted to massage you, I think we can drop the formalities. James, Emma said, testing the name. It felt strange and intimate and slightly dangerous. I appreciate the vote of confidence, but I'm not sure I'm the right person for this. I'm good at my job, but I'm not a senior strategist. I don't have the experience to lead a campaign this size. You have something more important than experience. You have perspective, and you're willing to challenge assumptions, including mine. That's what I need. He pulled out his phone, typing something quickly. I'm having my assistant draft the contract now. Your company gets the account, but you're the primary contact. Whatever support you need from your team, you get it, but the vision is yours. Emma felt like the ground had shifted beneath her feet. 24 hours ago, she'd been a mid-level marketing executive worried about making a good impression. Now she was apparently leading a major campaign for one of the biggest tech companies in Silicon Valley. I need some time to think about this, she said. James looked surprised. You're not jumping at the opportunity? It's a huge opportunity, and I'm grateful. But I also don't want to be set up to fail. If you're giving me this role because you feel guilty about the massage thing, I don't feel guilty about the massage thing. I feel intrigued by you. The words hung in the air between them, loaded with meaning. James seemed to realize how that sounded and cleared his throat. Professionally intrigued by your perspective and your approach to the work. Right, professionally. Emma tried to ignore the way her pulse had spiked. And if I say yes to leading this campaign, it's just professional? Because I need to know the boundaries here. James studied her for a long moment. What boundaries would you like there to be? It was a loaded question, and Emma knew it. The smart answer, the professional answer, was to establish clear lines between business and anything personal. But standing there, looking at this man who'd listened to her vent for 20 minutes while pretending to be a massage therapist, who'd taken her criticism seriously instead of defensively, who was offering her an opportunity that could change her career, Emma found she didn't want to be smart. I don't know yet, she admitted, but I think I'd like to find out. James's expression shifted, something warm and pleased flickering across his face. Then let's start with dinner. Tonight, we can discuss the campaign, professionally. Professionally, Emma echoed, smiling despite herself. Unless it becomes unprofessional. Mr. Henderson, James. James, Emma corrected. Are you asking me on a date or a business dinner? Yes, Emma laughed, the sound surprised and genuine. That's not an answer. Sure it is. It's both. We'll talk about the campaign because that's important, and I want your insights. But I'd also like to get to know you better, without the pretense of massage therapy or formal presentations. Consider it a working dinner that might evolve into something else if we both want it to. That's either very honest or a terrible idea. Could be both. James pulled out his phone again. I'll text you the details. And Emma? Don't overthink this. You're allowed to say yes to good things. Before she could respond, he walked to the door and opened it. Patricia, Marcus, and Diane practically fell into the room, clearly having been pressed against the door trying to eavesdrop. Ms. Reeves, James said smoothly, as if he hadn't just caught them listening. Congratulations. We're moving forward with the campaign. Emma will be your primary lead on the project. I trust you'll give her whatever resources she needs. Patricia's face went through several emotions at once: relief, confusion, curiosity, and something that might have been jealousy. Of course, Mr. Henderson. Emma is one of our best. I'm aware. James shook Patricia's hand, then Marcus's and Diane's. When he reached Emma, he held her gaze for a beat longer than strictly necessary. I look forward to our meeting tonight, 7 o'clock. My assistant will send you the address. Then he was gone, striding out of the conference room with the confidence of someone who'd just gotten exactly what he wanted. Patricia rounded on Emma immediately. What just happened? How do you know James Henderson? Why does he want you leading the campaign? And what meeting tonight? Emma gathered her things, her mind still reeling. It's a long story. Can we talk about it in the car? We're talking about it right now. Patricia, I promise I'll explain everything. But I need about 5 minutes to process first, okay? Patricia looked like she wanted to argue, but something in Emma's expression must have convinced her to back off. Fine, 5 minutes. But then I want every detail. In the elevator ride down, Emma pulled out her phone. Sure enough, there was already a text from an unknown number. Bistro Moderne, 7 p.m. Business casual. Looking forward to continuing our conversation. Also, I've been watching YouTube videos on proper massage technique, just in case the opportunity ever arises again. James. Emma stared at the message, a smile tugging at her lips despite her best efforts to remain professional. This was insane. She was going to dinner with a billionaire client she'd just been handed the lead on the biggest campaign of her career. And all because she'd insulted said billionaire while he gave her a terrible massage in a case of mistaken identity. Rachel was right. This was like something from a romantic comedy, except it was actually happening to her. The rest of the day passed in a blur. Patricia interrogated Emma in the car, and Emma gave her the abbreviated version. A mix-up at the spa, a conversation with someone she didn't realize was Henderson, an honest discussion about corporate culture that apparently impressed him. She left out the massage part. Some details were too absurd to explain. Patricia seemed satisfied, if still confused. Whatever you did, it worked. This account is huge for us. Don't screw it up. No pressure, Emma muttered. Back at the office, word spread quickly. The Henderson Tech account was official, and Emma Carter was leading it. Suddenly, colleagues who'd barely acknowledged her existence were stopping by her desk to congratulate her, ask questions, offer unsolicited advice. Emma smiled and nodded through it all, her mind already elsewhere. What was she going to wear tonight? She left work early, claiming she needed to start preparing for the campaign, which wasn't entirely untrue. But she also needed to go home, shower, and figure out how to look professional, yet approachable for a business dinner that might evolve into something more. Rachel called as Emma was standing in front of her closet in her underwear, pulling out and rejecting every outfit she owned. "Tell me you're not freaking out," Rachel said. "I'm completely freaking out. What do I wear to a business dinner with a billionaire who I accidentally insulted yesterday? and who might also be interested in me romantically, but also just hired my company to lead his marketing campaign. Wow, that's a very specific fashion emergency. Rachel, I'm serious. I have nothing to wear. Everything is either too professional or too date-like. I need something in between. The black dress with the blazer, Rachel said immediately. You look amazing in it. It's appropriate for a business dinner, but you can lose the blazer if things get more casual. Trust me on this. Emma pulled the dress out, examining it critically. Rachel was right. The dress was sophisticated but not stuffy, flattering without being too revealing. With the blazer, it was perfect for a business meeting. Without it, it could work for a date. You're a genius. I know. Now tell me how you're feeling about all this, because you landed a huge account and got asked out by a hot billionaire all in the same day. That's a lot. Emma sat down on her bed, the dress draped across her lap. Honestly, I'm terrified. What if I can't handle this campaign? What if I was only impressive because he caught me on a day when I was too stressed to filter myself? What if I get to dinner and I have nothing interesting to say? Emma, stop. You got this opportunity because you're good at what you do. Henderson isn't stupid. He wouldn't risk his company's marketing campaign on someone he met once unless he genuinely believed in their abilities. But what if it's not about my abilities? What if he just wants to date me and the campaign is an excuse? Then he's an idiot who's about to waste a lot of money, and you'll still get the career boost from being associated with a major campaign. Either way, you win. Rachel made it sound so simple. Emma wanted to believe her. What if I'm making a mistake, mixing business with personal? I mean, that's like rule number 1 of professional conduct. Maybe. Or maybe this is one of those rare situations where the rules don't apply. Emma, you've been working yourself to death for years, following all the rules, doing everything right. And where has it gotten you? Stressed, exhausted, and questioning whether any of it matters. Maybe it's time to take a risk. Emma thought about that, about the years of playing it safe, of never coloring outside the lines, of maintaining professional boundaries and appropriate behavior, and where it had gotten her. To a point where she was so wound up that a stranger had noticed her stress within seconds of walking into a massage room. Maybe you're right, Emma said softly. I'm always right. Now go get ready. Wear the red lipstick. Do something fun with your hair. And Emma, try to enjoy yourself. You deserve this. After Rachel hung up, Emma took a long shower, letting the hot water ease the remaining tension from her shoulders. The massage yesterday had been a disaster, but standing here now, she could almost feel the ghost of James's hands on her back, tentative and uncertain. The memory made her smile. She dried her hair, styled it in loose waves, and did her makeup carefully. The red lipstick was a bold choice, but Rachel was right. Tonight was a night for bold choices. The black dress fit perfectly, hugging her curves in all the right places. She added the blazer, slipped on her favorite heels, and examined herself in the mirror. She looked professional, confident, maybe even a little mysterious. Not bad for someone who'd spent most of the day in a panic spiral. The Uber to Bistro Moderne took 20 minutes through evening traffic. Emma used the time to review her notes on the campaign, trying to prepare talking points. But her mind kept wandering to James. The way he'd smiled when she'd insulted his massage technique, the warmth in his voice when he'd told her not to overthink accepting good things, the loaded way he'd looked at her when asking what boundaries she wanted. The restaurant was in a renovated warehouse district, all exposed brick and Edison bulbs, trendy without being pretentious. Emma gave her name to the hostess, who smiled knowingly and led her through the dining room to a private corner table. James was already there, standing when he saw her approach. He'd changed from his business suit into dark jeans and a navy button-down with the sleeves rolled up. It was casual, but still polished, and Emma realized he'd managed the exact balance she'd been aiming for with her own outfit. "Emma," he said, And the way he said her name felt different from earlier, less formal, more intimate. James. She let him pull out her chair, then sat, setting her purse on the empty chair beside her. Nice place. I thought about going somewhere more formal, but then I remembered your comments about corporate performativity and figured you'd appreciate something more relaxed. Using my own words against me. Clever. I have a good memory. A server appeared with wine menus, but James waved them away. Actually, do you drink wine? I just realized I don't know. I do. Red, usually. James ordered a bottle of something Emma had never heard of, but that probably cost more than her monthly car payment. When the server left, James leaned forward, his gray-blue eyes catching the candlelight. So, he said, should we start with the business part or skip straight to the getting-to-know-each-other part? Emma considered. Let's do business first. Get it out of the way so we can relax. Practical. I like it. They spent the next 20 minutes discussing the campaign. Emma pulled out her tablet, showing him preliminary ideas she'd been developing. James listened intently, asking questions, offering insights that were actually useful, rather than the typical executive meddling she was used to. He understood his product, understood his market, and understood what Emma was trying to accomplish. The key, Emma explained, is not making promises we can't keep. Your platform can't solve the isolation of remote work or the burnout of hustle culture, but it can make collaboration easier and communication clearer. That's enough. We don't need to oversell it. Most people would want to oversell it, James observed. They'd want me to claim we're revolutionizing the workplace. You asked for honesty. Here's more honesty. Revolutionary claims make people skeptical. Practical improvements make people interested. We aim for interested. James smiled. See, this is why I wanted you leading this campaign. You get it? The wine arrived, and James poured for both of them. Emma took a sip, the rich flavor bursting across her tongue. It was definitely expensive. Okay, James said, setting down his glass. Business portion complete. Now for the personal part. Tell me about Emma Carter. Not the marketing executive, the person. Emma laughed nervously. That's a big question. Start anywhere. Okay, I'm 31. I've been in marketing for 8 years. I live alone with a cat named Sir Reginald, who I rescued from a parking lot 3 years ago, and who I'm pretty sure judges all my life choices. Sir Reginald, excellent name for a cat. He's very dignified. Or he thinks he is. Mostly he just knocks things off my kitchen counter and stares at me accusingly when I'm late feeding him. James laughed, the sound warm and genuine. What else? What do you do when you're not working? Emma had to think about that. When was the last time she'd done something just for fun? Honestly, I work a lot too much, probably. But when I have free time, I read. Mostly fiction. I like getting lost in other people's stories. She paused. That probably sounds boring. It sounds thoughtful. What kind of fiction? All kinds. Literary fiction, mysteries, romance, sci-fi. I'm not picky as long as the writing is good and the characters feel real. Romance novels, James said, a hint of teasing in his voice. Should I be taking notes? Emma felt her cheeks warm. Romance novels are underrated. They're about people taking emotional risks, being vulnerable, choosing connection over safety. That takes courage. I'm not arguing, just noting that you're a romantic, which is interesting given your cynicism about corporate culture. Those things aren't mutually exclusive. I can believe in love, and still think most companies exploit their workers. Fair point. James refilled their wine glasses. My turn. I'm 34. I started Henderson Tech 7 years ago after watching my mother burn out from a job that demanded everything and gave nothing back. She was a software engineer at a big tech company, brilliant woman, but they worked her 80-hour weeks and acted like she should be grateful for the opportunity. Emma heard the pain beneath his words. What happened? She had a heart attack at 48, survived, thankfully, but it was a wake-up call. She quit, completely left the tech industry, and I decided I wanted to build something different, a company that actually valued human beings over quarterly earnings. He smiled sadly. Naive, I know. Not naive, idealistic. There's a difference. Is there? Because 7 years in, I'm not sure I've succeeded. We have better policies than most companies, sure. Better benefits, more flexibility. But we're still a corporation. We still have to make money. We still make compromises I'm not proud of. Emma studied him, seeing the genuine struggle in his expression. This wasn't performative angst for her benefit. He actually cared about this, wrestled with it. Can I tell you what I think? She asked. Please. I think perfection is impossible. The system is designed to prioritize profit. You can't opt out of capitalism while participating in it. But you can try to do better within the constraints you have. And from what I've seen, you are trying. That counts for something. Even if it's not enough? Even if it's not enough. Because the alternative is not trying at all. And that's worse. James reached across the table, his fingers brushing hers. It was barely a touch, over almost before it began, but Emma felt it like electricity. Thank you, he said quietly, for not telling me what I want to hear, for being honest, even when it's uncomfortable. Their food arrived, interrupting the moment. Emma hadn't even looked at the menu, so James had ordered for them both, somehow knowing she'd like the pasta carbonara and the Caesar salad. They ate and talked, the conversation flowing easily from topic to topic. James told her about growing up in Seattle, about his mother's current retirement adventures traveling through Europe, about the unexpected challenges of running a tech company in an industry that moved faster than anyone could keep up with. Emma told him about her own family, her parents still together after 35 years in a small town in Ohio, her younger brother, who was a teacher and much better at work-life balance than she was. She told him about the time she'd accidentally sent a pitch deck full of lorem ipsum text to a major client because she'd been so sleep-deprived she hadn't noticed. She told him about her dreams of maybe starting her own agency someday, though she'd never admitted that to anyone else. Why not? James asked. Start your own agency, I mean. You clearly have the skills. It's terrifying. What if I fail? What if I can't find clients? What if I'm better as someone's employee than as my own boss? What if you succeed? Emma laughed. You make it sound simple. It's not simple. It's terrifying, like you said. But so is staying in a job that doesn't fulfill you. At least if you fail trying to do something you care about, you'll know you tried. Is that your philosophy? Try and fail rather than never try. It's become my philosophy. I failed at a lot of things before Henderson Tech. I had 2 previous startups that crashed and burned. Lost money, lost confidence, questioned everything about myself. James smiled wryly. But I learned from those failures. They taught me what not to do, which is almost as valuable as knowing what to do. The server cleared their plates and brought the dessert menu. James ordered tiramisu to share, and when it arrived, they ate it directly from the serving plate with 2 forks, their hands occasionally bumping as they competed for the same perfect bite. This is really good, Emma said, savoring the rich coffee flavor. Almost as good as a terrible massage from a stranger? Emma nearly choked on her wine, laughing. Are we going to keep bringing that up forever? I mean, it's a pretty memorable first meeting. Most people meet at coffee shops, or through mutual friends. We met because of a spa booking error and mutual awkwardness. When you put it that way, it does sound like the beginning of a romantic comedy. Does it? James set down his fork, his expression turning more serious. Because I want to be clear about something. This, tonight, Us talking and laughing and sharing dessert. This isn't just a business dinner for me anymore, if it ever was. Emma's heart skipped. What is it then? I'm hoping it's the first date, with potential for more dates, if you're interested. I thought we were keeping this professional, Emma said, but she was smiling. We tried, for about 20 minutes. Then we started talking about cats and romance novels and childhood dreams, and I think we both know this stopped being professional the moment I attempted to give you a massage yesterday. Emma couldn't argue with that logic. Okay, so hypothetically, if this is a date, what happens next? Hypothetically, I'd like to see you again. Outside of campaign meetings and business contexts, just you and me, getting to know each other without the pretense of professionalism. That could get complicated. I'm working for you. Well, my company is working for you. It could. Or we could be adults about it. Keep the business separate from the personal. When we're in meetings, we're all business. When we're here, or wherever else we might go, we're just James and Emma, two people who met under weird circumstances and want to see where this goes. Emma considered that. It made sense in theory, though she knew from experience that keeping business and personal separate was harder than it sounded. But sitting here with James, feeling more relaxed than she had in months, seeing the genuine interest in his eyes, she found she didn't care about the potential complications. Okay, she said. Okay. Okay, this is a date. And okay, I'd like to see you again. And okay, we'll figure out how to navigate the professional stuff as we go. James's face lit up. That's a lot of okays. I'm feeling decisive. I like decisive, Emma. He signaled for the check, which arrived and disappeared with his credit card so quickly, Emma barely registered it. Can I drive you home? Or would that be moving too fast? You can drive me home, but just drive, nothing else. I need to process this day before we add any more complications. Fair enough. They walked out to the parking garage where James's car waited. It wasn't what Emma expected. Instead of some flashy sports car or pretentious luxury vehicle, it was a Tesla Model S, practical and environmentally conscious, but still nice. Somehow, that felt very on brand for him. The drive to Emma's apartment took 15 minutes, and they spent it listening to music and talking about nothing important. When James pulled up outside her building, Emma felt a strange reluctance to leave. "Thank you for tonight," she said, "for dinner and conversation, and being honest about what this is. Thank you for giving me a chance despite my terrible massage skills." Emma laughed, reaching for the door handle. Before she could open it, James caught her hand. "Emma, one more thing." She turned back to him, and suddenly he was closer than she'd realized, his face inches from hers in the dim light of the car. She could smell his cologne, the same expensive scent from yesterday. Could see the flecks of darker blue in his gray eyes. "I really want to kiss you right now," he said softly. "But I also don't want to rush this. So I'm going to say good night, and I'm going to think about kissing you, and maybe on our next date, if there is a next date, we can revisit this moment." Emma's breath caught the anticipation of a kiss she wasn't getting, was somehow more powerful than actually being kissed. "That's very restrained of you. I'm trying to be a gentleman. What if I don't want you to be a gentleman?" James smiled slowly. "Then I guess we'll have to see who breaks first." It was a challenge, and a promise, and a tease, all at once. Emma found herself smiling back. "Good night, James." "Good night, Emma." She got out of the car, walked to her building's entrance, and turned back to wave. James waited until she was inside before driving away. Emma leaned against the inside of her building's door, her heart racing. Sir Reginald greeted her at her apartment door with an accusatory meow, and she scooped him up, carrying him to the couch. "I just had a date with a billionaire," she told the cat. "A billionaire who I insulted yesterday, while he pretended to massage me, and who then hired my company, and asked me to lead his campaign, and who just told me he wants to kiss me, but is waiting for the right moment. This is insane, right? Tell me this is insane. Sir Reginald purred, which Emma chose to interpret as approval. Over the next 2 weeks, Emma threw herself into the campaign. She assembled her team, bringing in Marcus and Diane, plus 2 junior designers and a copywriter she'd always wanted to work with. They brainstormed, created mock-ups, tested messaging with focus groups. The work was challenging and exhilarating, and Emma found herself energized in a way she hadn't been in years. She also saw James regularly, though always in professional contexts. He attended their team meetings, offered feedback, challenged their assumptions in ways that improved the final product. And every time their eyes met across the conference table, Emma felt that same electric charge from their dinner. They texted constantly, little things, not always about work. James would send her articles he thought she'd find interesting, or photos of funny signs he saw around the city. Emma would send him updates on Sir Reginald's latest shenanigans, or recommendations for books he should read. It was casual and friendly, and somehow more intimate than any of her previous relationships had been, but they didn't go on another date. The campaign took priority, and both of them seemed to understand that they needed to keep some boundaries until the initial launch was complete. It was professional and mature, and drove Emma absolutely crazy with anticipation. 3 weeks after their dinner, the campaign was ready to launch. Henderson Tech held a big event to unveil the new platform and the accompanying marketing campaign. Emma stood backstage with her team, her stomach in knots, as James took the stage to introduce the product. He was good at this, Emma realized, confident without being arrogant, enthusiastic without being fake. He talked about the challenges of modern work, about the isolation and burnout that had become normalized, about his vision for something better. Then he introduced the platform, demonstrating its features with the help of remote employees who appeared on giant screens, talking about their real experiences. Finally, he introduced the campaign. The screens filled with the ads Emma's team had created, real people in real work situations, messy and imperfect and honest. The tagline appeared, "Work is messy, we get it." The audience loved it. Emma could tell from the applause, from the social media reactions already flooding in, from the way journalists were frantically typing notes. It was working. The radical honesty approach was actually working. After the presentation, there was a reception. Emma found herself surrounded by people wanting to congratulate her, ask questions, offer opportunities. Patricia was beaming, already talking about how this would transform their agency's reputation. Marcus and Diane were celebrating with champagne. Everything was perfect, except Emma couldn't find James. She eventually spotted him on a balcony overlooking the city, alone, despite the party happening inside. She grabbed 2 glasses of champagne and slipped outside. "Hiding from your own success party?" she asked, handing him a glass. James turned, his face lighting up when he saw her. "Needed some air. These things are exhausting. You were amazing up there." "The campaign was amazing. You were amazing. I just introduced it." Emma leaned against the railing beside him, looking out at the city lights. "We did good work." "We did." James was quiet for a moment. "So the campaign is launched. The professional portion of our relationship has reached a natural milestone. I suppose it has. Which means," he turned to face her fully, "I'd like to take you on that second date now, if you're still interested." Emma set down her champagne glass and turned to face him, her heart pounding. "I'm still interested." "Good. Because I've been thinking about kissing you for 3 weeks now, and it's been very distracting." 3 weeks? I've been thinking about it since you told me you were thinking about it, which, by the way, was mean. James laughed. "Mean but effective. Did it work? Did you think about it?" "Every single day." Good. James reached out, his fingers finding hers, lacing through them. So should we stop thinking about it and actually do something about it? Emma didn't answer with words. Instead, she closed the distance between them, rising on her toes, and kissed him. It was nothing like she'd imagined, and exactly what she'd hoped for. His lips were soft, the kiss starting gentle but deepening as his hands came up to cup her face. Emma's fingers curled into his shirt, pulling him closer, and she felt him smile against her mouth. When they finally broke apart, both breathing hard, James rested his forehead against hers. "Worth the wait?" he asked. "Absolutely." They stood there for a long moment, wrapped up in each other, the party continuing behind them unnoticed. Finally, James pulled back slightly, though he kept his hands on her waist. "I should probably go back inside. People will be looking for me." "Probably," Emma agreed, but she didn't move either. "Or we could leave. Go somewhere quieter. Continue this conversation somewhere with fewer people and better lighting for kissing." Emma pretended to consider. "That does sound appealing, but I should probably stay. My team will want to celebrate, and Patricia will kill me if I disappear from the biggest event of our agency's year." "Right. Professional responsibilities." But James was smiling, his thumb tracing circles on her hip that were very unprofessional. "Although," Emma said slowly, "the event does go until midnight, and it's only 9 now. Maybe we could make an appearance, show our faces, and then slip out around 10:30. Meet the professional obligations, but also, prioritize the personal ones." "I like how you think." James kissed her again, quick and sweet. 10:30. I'll text you where to meet me." They went back inside separately, a strategic decision that fooled absolutely no one. Patricia took one look at Emma's face and raised an eyebrow knowingly. Rachel, who'd showed up to support Emma, literally squealed and pulled her aside for a rapid-fire interrogation. "You kissed him! I can tell by your face you kissed him." "Maybe." "Emma Carter, don't you dare hold out on me. Details. Now." Emma laughed, feeling lighter than she had in years. "We kissed. On the balcony. It was perfect. And we're leaving together at 10:30. Rachel hugged her hard. "I'm so proud of you. For the campaign success, and for taking a chance on something good." The next 90 minutes crawled by. Emma made small talk, accepted congratulations, discussed future projects with potential clients. But her attention kept drifting to James across the room, catching his eye, sharing secret smiles. At exactly 10:30, her phone buzzed. "Service elevator, 2nd floor, 10 minutes." Emma made her excuses, telling Patricia she had an early morning meeting tomorrow and needed to get some sleep. Patricia's knowing look suggested she didn't believe it for a second, but she didn't argue. Emma found the service elevator, her heart racing with anticipation. When the doors opened on the 2nd floor, James was waiting. He pulled her inside as soon as she stepped out, kissing her before the elevator doors even closed behind her. "I've been watching the clock for an hour," he admitted between kisses. "Me too." He'd already ordered a car, which was waiting at a discreet side exit. James gave the driver his address, and Emma felt a flutter of nerves. This was really happening. They were really doing this. "We don't have to," James said, reading her expression. "We can just go somewhere and talk more. Or I can take you home." "I don't want to go home," Emma said. "I want to be with you." James's apartment was in a high-rise overlooking the water, all floor-to-ceiling windows and modern furniture that somehow still felt warm and lived in. There were books everywhere, plants on every available surface, photos of what must be his family scattered throughout. "It's beautiful," Emma said. Moving to the windows, James came up behind her, wrapping his arms around her waist. "I'm glad you like it. Though I have to warn you, I have terrible massage skills, and a track record of making completely inappropriate decisions. Emma turned in his arms, smiling up at him. Lucky for you, I have a thing for inappropriate decisions and terrible massages. Do you now? Apparently. She kissed him, and this time, there was no reason to stop. No professional obligations waiting. Just the two of them, and the future stretching out with all its messy, complicated, wonderful possibilities. Outside, the city glowed with light and life. Inside, Emma Carter and James Henderson were writing their own story, one that started with mistaken identity and terrible massage technique, and would continue with radical honesty, genuine connection, and the courage to choose something real. Work was messy. Life was messy. Love was messiest of all. And they were absolutely okay with that. What did you think of their story? Share your thoughts in the comments. On a scale from 0 to 10,